Hi, everyone. So today I want to talk about one of my favorite poems in Persian literature by Abdurrahman Jami, Yusuf or Zulaikha. And I want to focus in particular on Jami's representation of Zulaikha's desire for Yusuf. The poem Yusuf or Zulaikha is a reinterpretation of the biblical and Quranic story of the prophet Joseph. Here, I would like to look into the Islamic institution of marriage as a sacred space and a catalyst for Zulaikha's displaced desire. In classical Persian romance poetry, the initiator of love is usually a male lover, whereas the beloved is a coy woman. With the exception of a few stories, such as that which recounts the love of the first Persian female poet, Rabi'a Balkh, for her male slave Haris, most Persian romances are cliched in such a way that the reader expects the lover to be a man and the beloved to be a woman or a man, and the couple are supposed to be of the same social class. Zulaikha's active recklessness and her aggressive love for her male slave Yusuf goes against the standards of both Islamic society and Persian poetic tradition. Similarly, while Zulaikha is not the prototypical lover of medieval Persian literature, Yusuf is not the typical beloved of this genre either, who finally gives in to lust and desire. The world of Yusuf Zulaikha seems to be turned upside down. Nothing seems to be in its proper place. However, the end of the poem restores everything back to its expected order. Zulaikha, who is married to Potiphar, the master of Egypt, transgresses the boundaries of both her status and the institution of marriage due to her passionate love for Yusuf. This transgression displaces Zulaikha's desire from its proper place in sacralized institution of marriage to the inferior and profane place of lust and physical desire. Due to this displacement, the expected hierarchy of place is overturned. As a form of sacrifice for her desire, Zulaikha embraces bodily pain and suffering and becomes the embodiment of regained spiritual desire through her marriage to Yusuf at the end. The transgressiveness of Zulaikha's love for Yusuf allows both love and marriage to be seen as a catalyst for personal transformation and the production of religious knowledge and wisdom. It is only after enduring pain and suffering that Zulaikha's transgression of the sacred space of the institution of marriage is forgiven. In addition, her symbolic breaking of the human idol that she once worshipped in Yusuf and her conversion to Islam remove the obstacles that prevent the realization of this spiritual desire. Thus, a moral of the story is that the realization of the carnal union between Yusuf and Zulaikha is only possible through the intervention of the spiritual and the triumph of the sacred over the profane. Yusuf and Zulaikha reach union and ultimately marry. Therefore, it is not out of place to look into the meaning of the term marriage and the differing views on marriage in Islam. In Arabic, the words for marriage and marriage partner are zawaj and zoj, respectively. Both terms are derived from a root meaning pair. This is reflected in the following Quranic verse, and I'm quoting: Gather together those who committed wrong, their partners, and what they used to worship. End quote. In Islamic law, marriage is defined as, quote, a contract which permits both contracting parties to enjoy the other in a lawful manner, end quote. There are, however, a number of other terms for marriage in different religious texts, such as the term nikah. Nikah originally means sexual intercourse, but it has come to mean matrimony since it is only within institution of marriage which sexual intercourse is lawful. Muslim scholars have differing views on the definition of marriage. While they all agree that a lawful marriage consists of a contract between a man and a woman in which both parties commit themselves to sharing a conjugal life and creating a family that will come under their common supervision, they hold differing views on the virtue of marriage. Some believe in the superior merit of devoting oneself to worship of God and foregoing marriage, whereas others acknowledge the value of marriage. Traditions unfavorable to marriage, while in the minority, can be also found in the hadith of the Prophet. For example, this one, and I'm quoting. The best of men, 2 centuries hence, will be one who is lightly burdened, who has neither wife nor child. End quote. However, celibacy has also been a matter of controversy, beginning with the practices of early Muslim ascetics and the objections of Orthodox Muslims to Sufism. This point is significant to Jami's Yusuf of Zulaikha because Yusuf tries to avoid Zulaikha's advances and stay focused on devotion to God. In Ihya Ulumuddin, Abu Hamid al-Ghazali sought to reconcile the Islamic legal code with Sufi doctrines and ethics. What concerned him the most was whether marriage and sexuality distracted from full concentration on the divine. For him, the best combination of the two approaches could be found in this saying, and I'm quoting. The asceticism of an ascetic is not complete until he marries, end quote. In general, the Sufis considered marriage desirable for quelling lust and temptation, which was caused by the lower self or the nafs. Furthermore, the Sufis strongly believed in self-discipline and abstinence of the soul as well as that of the body. Let's look at the favorable attitudes toward marriage, which can also be found in the Quran, such as this verse, and I'm quoting. Do not prevent them from marrying their husbands. There are also some hadiths that have been ascribed to the Prophet praising the practice of marriage, such as this one, quote, he who marries secures one half of his religion, so let him beware Allah where the other half is concerned, end quote. In Islam, both passion and procreation are divinely ordained with a direct connection between the two. According to Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, apart from procreation, the joy of sexual fulfillment is also of utmost significance. For him, this type of sexual pleasure prepares humans for unparalleled pleasures promised to Muslims who reach the paradise. Hence, worldly pleasures create hope for permanent pleasures in paradise. In a passage from Yusuf of Zulaikha, when Zulaikha dreams of Yusuf, Jami describes Yusuf's beauty by comparing him to Huris and Peris, the pure companions promised to believers in paradise. Jami likens Yusuf to these beings of sweet face, which enslave Zulaikha's heart and place the plant of love in her heart. In Islamic popular tradition, Huris are beautiful women promised to Muslim men who observe the Islamic religious rituals closely. It is commonly believed that in paradise, male sexual potency is multiplied and climaxes are extended. Thus, only true men can be betrothed to the Houris. Marriage is also preferable in Islam because it offers protection against lust. While religiosity and fear of God are influential in preventing humans from responding to lust, when it comes to guarding one's heart against temptation, it is believed that humans have no control over their urges, and the lower self, that is the nafs, continually distracts humans with sexual desires. Such temptation may happen to anyone and at any time. There is no permanent immunity against nafs and Satan. Many Sufis and scholars have also referred to female fitna and seduction. In Hadiqat al-Haqa'iq, Ain al-Ghuzat al-Hamadani likens women to a trap made by the devil. And I'm quoting here. She possesses an imperfect intellect and is inclined to rebelliousness and slander. At the mention of God's name, Satan runs away while the woman remains with thousands of deceptions. The woman is the unseen enemy. Not many are able to avoid her. End quote. Female seduction and fitna or discord are also themes under which Zulaikha is portrayed. So Zulaikha has always been portrayed as seductive with fitna. Jami praises female purity and chastity over feminine beauty. Preferences for female purity at the time of marriage is also found in the Quran, encouraging Muslims to marry a virtuous and chaste man or woman, regardless of differences in status or wealth. This indicates that the righteousness of a marriage partner is more important than one's socioeconomic status. The Prophet Muhammad has also praised the importance of female righteousness, and I'm quoting this. A woman may be chosen for her wealth, or for her beauty, or for her nobility, or for her religion. So choose a religious woman and hold fast to her. End quote. While morality, piety, and virtue are of utmost significance in the Quran, in practice, virginity was considered the most important principle for a happy conjugal life. For example, Abu Hamid al-Ghazali comments that marrying a virgin, quote, engenders a greater measure of a man's love for her, as it is a man's nature to be somewhat repelled by a woman who has been touched by another husband. The surest love is that which is engendered with the first loved one, end quote. The significance of female virginity in the context of marriage is reiterated in Jami's poem, in which Zulaikha, after seeing Yusuf in her dreams, promises him that she will remain virginal. She maintains her vow even after she marries Potiphar. In fact, one of the essential factors leading to Yusuf and Zulaikha's marriage at the end of the story is Zulaikha's virginity. Jami's poem dramatizes the ways that passion and desire were gendered in the medieval Islamic world. The image of the immaculate virginal female body governs the discourse of female confinement and the rhetoric of female perfection. Zulaikha's desire to have an untouched body stands for her true virtuousness later in the poem. It becomes the prerequisite for her to be considered marriageable for Yusuf. Her purity allows the eventual marriage between her and Yusuf and to represent the Sufi concept of union with the divine. While she is punished for her earlier transgressions and the marks of these punishments are visible on her body, in the end, Zulaikha is rewarded for her loyalty when Yusuf restores her beauty, youth, and social position by marrying her. Significantly, Zulaikha's youth is restored as soon as she reveals the truth about her virginity. Immediately after, the newly reborn girl becomes worthy of marriage and union with Yusuf. Zulaikha's transformation from the profane to the sacred is marked by the purity of her body and her embodiment of pain as a form of repentance. Only pain and suffering can purge her body of her sins. In Jami's work, the concept of chastity is associated with the perfection of an immaculate female body, which goes against the notion of innate female corruption. In this sense, Zulaikha's intact and inviolate body becomes a site where various sociocultural and religious discourses intersect and conflict. Jami's descriptions of Zulaikha's body, beauty, and youth, and later her aging and gradual loss of sight, are particularly evocative of style and tone. For example, Jami describes Zulaikha in the poem as a palm tree with no sins who mocked the cypress that rose and gave out the sweet odor of musk. He likens Zulaikha's eyebrows to two inverted noons, her eyes to two sods, her mouth to the mim, her nose to aleph, and her lips to sin, all of which are Persian alphabet letters in the alphabet. Zulaikha's face is like the garden of Aram, with dusky moles and ivory neck. Her breasts are two young pomegranates. Jami's description of Zulaikha portrays her as perfectly fashioned from heel to toe. However, Zulaikha's body then deteriorates and her beauty diminishes after she experiences the first dream of Yusuf. What was first described as the fair full moon is now transformed into a shrunken crescent. Her eyes are now red like morning's glow, and her frame and body are bent like an archer's bow. However, after Yusuf comes to her dream once again, and declares himself to be the Grand Vizier of Egypt, Zulaikha's spirit, which was long dead, is stirred with new life after hearing these words from her idol. Zulaikha's dreams are unreal spaces which are related directly or indirectly with real spaces. Her dreams portray a perfect image of love and marriage, but in reality, they are imaginary. In reality, Zulaikha marries Potiphar, who is nowhere as perfect as Yusuf. Also, the transformation of Zulaikha's body as a site where religious purity is prescribed is of utmost importance. Yusuf's rejection of Zulaikha's carnal desire has a direct impact on her body. Jami describes Zulaikha as a hapless bird pining in the confinement of the cage of the world. She loses her husband, her wealth, and her status for Yusuf's sake, but she remains loyal in her love. After years of pain and suffering, when she finally breaks down the nafs and reaches the purity of her soul, she meets Yusuf again. Since Zulaikha is forced to break her idol or the nafs before she can walk on the divine path, her path must be fraught with pain and suffering. Insofar as Zulaikha's desire and pain are both linked to her attainment of self-awareness, she has to give up carnal jouissance, which she desires but cannot attain. This is the symbolic meaning of the unattainable Yusuf. Because it is misdirected, her initial jouissance turns into pain and suffering. Pain becomes the absolute truth of Zulaikha's reality as it is inscribed on her body through the metamorphosis that she undergoes. Her body has a crucial role in the poem because it illustrates her experiences and self-representations. Furthermore, it is on Zulaikha's body where Sufi discipline plays itself out. Her body reflects this discipline as is ultimately conditioned by it. It is only after she renounces her nafs and turns to pure monotheism of Islam that her beauty and youth are restored. And this restoration of purity is symbolized by the restoration of Zulaikha's virginity. Therefore, Zulaikha's body becomes a symbolic territory where discourses about the sacred are generated. As such, it also acts as a boundary marker. Her initial desire for Yusuf, which is sullied with lust, is transformed into a sacred desire. There are many references to mirrors in Yusuf or Zulaikha, but the most significant ones are the frequent references to Yusuf as the mirrored image of the divine. In terms of Sufi discourse, Yusuf's physical beauty is a reflection of the divine beauty. The attributes of Yusuf act as a mirror image of God's attributes. Because Yusuf is a mirror image of the divine, Zulaikha must purify her soul to reach her goal of attaining divine beauty and love. However, as a symbol, the mirror is a placeless place. It is an illusory sight. When humans look at themselves in the mirror, they see themselves in an unreal virtual space whose true reality lies behind the surface. The human image is over there in the mirror, but it is not really there. What we perceive is merely an image without substance that gives visibility to itself and enables one to see what in reality is absent. Hence, Yusuf's portrayal as a mirror that reflects the divine image is also a placeless place. If Zulaikha is to become truly spiritual, she must learn to observe the divine in a virtual space that opens up what is behind the surface, that is behind the veil of Yusuf. Although Yusuf is a mirror image of the divine, the truth is that he is only the insubstantial reflection of God's attributes. That is, he's only a shahid, a witness or testimony to divine beauty and love, which gives visibility to the divine through his creation and enables one to discern this divine in the reality that is behind the mirror. Per this interpretation, therefore, the mirror is an illusory space, but it can also serve as a real one because it counteracts the illusory space of selfhood that human beings occupy. Paradoxically, humans can discover their true absence in the mirror from which they see themselves as over there. The image that looks back at them from the other side of the glass from this virtual space allows the person with wisdom to see her self-projection as the unreal thing that it really is. Thus, the mirror is a real place because it makes the place that humans occupy when they look at themselves in the glass simultaneously real, unreal, and virtual. By looking at Yusuf as in mirror, Zulaikha realizes the unreality of her own self. By looking through the other side of the glass, she comes to self-awareness by breaking down her nafs and walking through the looking glass. In this way, the mirror functions as a locus wherein the real and the unreal, the sacred and the profane meet. In Sufism, of course, a mirror is the signifier for seeing the divine. Therefore, the figure of Yusuf functions as the mirror shahid through which Zulaikha learns to purify her soul and truly discover divine love. As Zulaikha's inaccessible object of desire, Yusuf is sublimated by her because his true reality lies beyond the physical and is thus unattainable. In other words, the figure of Yusuf functions as a Lacanian inhuman partner who acts as a mirror upon which Zulaikha projects her ideals and fantasies. The mirror, as both illusory and real space, becomes both the site and the impetus for the purification of Zulaikha's soul and her preparation for marriage with Yusuf and union with the divine. The contradictory intersection of real and illusory space is also to be found in the concept of garden in Jami's Yusuf of Zulaikha. According to Michel Foucault, the traditional Persian enclosed garden was considered to be a sacred space that brought together inside its four walls the four parts of the world as a sort of microcosm. In other words, the smallest part of the world also symbolized the world's totality. This garden as microcosm is another site that functions as a space in which the smallest part of the world intersect with its totality, where paradise appears on earth and where profane meets the sacred. Since spaces are more than just material sites, Zulaikha's garden in the poem also functions as a site where earthly and heavenly elements intersect. Somewhat like the mirror, it functions as the illusory image of a perfect microcosm. In Persian culture, Zulaikha's garden, Eram, is considered an earthly version of paradise. This becomes even more significant when we consider that Zulaikha's female slaves in the garden are there in order to seduce Yusuf. Thus, this paradisical garden functions as a space where Yusuf is subjected to worldly temptations. It is also reminiscent of Houris and Peris of the paradise that we discussed earlier. Once again, this space is neither empty nor void. It is a space where Yusuf's purity and loyalty to God are put to the test. Like her dreams, the garden is lived in Zulaikha's heart and mind and embodies her experiences. Like her dreams, the garden and her palace with the 7 doors are sites that are not accessible to the public. Although they are private, they are penetrable to the reader of the story through the intercession of Jami, who gives us keys to them as the author of the poem and a Sufi pir. Just as with the symbolism of the mirror, Zulaikha's garden and the 7 doors both mark boundaries and redefine them. Zulaikha's 7 arranged rooms in her palace, each with a single door, is the site where Yusuf's loyalty to the divine is tested. Hence, it is another site of intersection of the profane and the sacred. Zulaikha's 7 arranged rooms and the imagery of the 7 doors are very symbolic, inasmuch as doors typically mark a threshold or a boundary for entering and leaving. The rooms behind the doors may also be seen as a sanctuary or a sacred space, and in such cases, doors function as a barrier or prohibition to spaces behind which secrets or taboos may lie. Now, Zulaikha attempts to lead Yusuf to her secret space behind the doors and away from the eyes of Potiphar. However, although he is tempted for a moment, Yusuf avoids crossing that line between the permissible and the forbidden. The entry to the space behind the door is not only the entry to the secret and private space of Zulaikha's matrimony, but figuratively, it also symbolizes the entrance into Zulaikha's body, since the purpose behind her invitation is sexual. The rooms behind the doors are spaces for producing and shaping ideas, beliefs, and values. They symbolize a complex network of relationships of gender domination and subordination between Yusuf and Zulaikha. While Zulaikha keeps locking the doors one after another, closing each trap, they miraculously open one after other for Yusuf, allowing him to escape from her attempted seduction. As thresholds of crossing the boundary of the sexual rights of marriage, we witness how private matrimonial space is represented and how Yusuf's encounter with the doors is experienced. However, from a Sufi perspective, entry through the seven doors into Zulaikha's seven rooms seems compulsory for Yusuf, for the rooms function as consecrated space that are linked to acts of purification. The seven doors that present Yusuf with new trials and tribulations are entirely in line with the hardships on the Sufi path towards ultimate union with the divine. In this case, the seven doors that open onto Zulaikha's plans for seduction also serve as stages that Yusuf must traverse on his path to prophethood. Even though Zulaikha transgresses several boundaries in regard to the institution of marriage, by the end of the poem, after going through the spiritual purification of pain and suffering, she is finally prepared for union with Yusuf. For this union, however, she experiences desire in a number of dynamic, physical, and illusory spaces, such as her body, her dreams, Yusuf as the mirror image of the divine, the seven doors of the palace, and the transformation of her soul. Zulaikha's physical and carnal union with Yusuf is only realized after the attainment of the spiritual. While Yusuf is the shahid, or the witness to the truth that Zulaikha needs on her spiritual path, by the end of the poem, we realize that Zulaikha has also become Yusuf's shahid for his attainment of prophethood.